In 2019, Zombieland Double Tap, Columbus, Tallahassee, Wichita, and Little Rock moved to the American heartland as they face off against evolved zombies, fellow survivors, and the growing pains of the snarky makeshift family. Directed by Ruben Fleischer, written by Dave Callahan for screenplay, and Rhett Reese.
Right. Pull up this thing.
All right, here we go. 2019, finally, we get to see what our
Zombieland.
friends in Zombieland are up to after 10 years. I know everyone was waiting for it. We finally get to see this movie.
We finally got it. We're here at long last.
Welcome
to the American Recut.
Welcome. I am Tom, guessing again.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Brendan.
Let's get into this.
What is this? Oh yeah, it was a sequel that happened years later from the original movie.
I think let's start out with this movie. If you liked the original movie, my opinion is this movie relatively hits the same notes. So it's essentially what you're going to get when you see this.
I don't know. I was in a weird place for it, but we'll talk about our opinions on it at the end of it. Let's just go through our different points, try and be a little bit objective with this one. Story, first and foremost. This is one that really flopped for me. This is probably the part of it that was the least interesting to me.
I'll agree with Nick. The story was completely irrelevant. I mean, it was just a destination thing, if anything else. While we watch our favorite characters from the previous movie just carry on with their usual banter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're really getting some sort of forced things happening to move the characters from where they begin to where they end. And that's sort of what you follow along with as you go through.
It's a classic, just gotta go save a person story with a lot of meandering, different little kind of side jokes, I guess, that get filled in for each scene. A lot of the movie is more or less just them kind of screwing around in one place or another. It's generally not the strongest of plots, but that's fine. This is a comedy. We're not generally here for the strong story.
Right.
So let's move on to the characters then. Since we are kind of filling back in with old characters that we already know, generally the question becomes, A, are the new characters as good as the characters who are returning? And B, are there significant changes to the old characters that change the way we look at them?
I think essentially we're keeping this movie doesn't see much of an evolution in the characters per se. You essentially still go through sort of the same notes that they went through in the first movie, and some of the same we see some of the same things that happened in the first movie with these characters again. So I feel like character-wise, we get sort of what we got in the first movie again. Right.
No, I am with Tom in part that the characters are relatively the same. They do go through significant changes. For instance, Little Rock hitting puberty, but she also kind of wants to leave the nest, so to speak. So yeah.
There is one small difference with the characters, which is that a lot of the driving motivation for the characters in this movie has to do with the relationships, love, and settling down, which is kind of the big through line for the movie and the two respective main protagonists, I guess, since unfortunately Wichita and Little Rock don't really get that much characterization of their own.
No. So side characters, though, so there's a lot of side characters.
We do have some good, I think personally, so we have some very sort of short, we don't have any side characters that are really front and center for a lot of the movie, but while they're there, I feel like they contribute decently, especially for comedic effect. You get some good side characters in this movie.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
There's one in particular who kind of hangs around throughout the movie. She's from New York, I think?
Madison, I think her name is.
Nevada. She's from Nevada, sorry. She's the one that's said to be Tallahassee's romantic interest.
Oh, yeah. Her. Yeah, right.
And also Wichita's, right? The girl from the freezer.
Yeah.
The girl from the freezer is a really bad stereotype character. She is absolutely miserable. I could not stand her.
But yeah, the side characters are mostly stereotypical. There are some characters that really fit the stereotype.
Yeah. There's a lot of side characters where you kind of know what the gag is with them as soon as they're introduced, and they don't really do any major twists on them in general.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up the side characters in this movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
For the effects, I feel like this one's kind of a downgrade in style from the first movie.
I thought it was relatively consistent because I mean the zombies were.
Sorry, but
I mean, no. I mean, I think you and I are on the same page in the sense that I mean, it's just zombie hordes, over the top violence, action, gore, what have you. Pretty standard.
So I will say, actually, I rewatched the first movie a day or two before seeing this, and it actually stays largely on par. Which for a movie that's 10 years later, maybe you would expect a little bit more. You get sort of the same gore here. You get lots of makeup. As far as those things that you got from the first movie, again, you're getting essentially the same thing in this movie. So whether that's like, hey, it's 10 years later, maybe we should have something more. Maybe there's that aspect to it, but I feel like compared to the first movie, you're getting largely the same sort of. And again, it's a lot of makeup. You get some explosions.
Yeah,
that's kind of the effects.
I think what I meant when I said that was not so much as far as like the zombie killing, because zombie killing is a pretty traditional, well explored route by now. Like, of course, the kills look good, the blood looks good, the blood splatter looks good, the makeup, etc. I was talking more about the other stylistic thing they do in these movies, which is the kind of drop-in subtitles that come in every so often for the rules or so on and so forth.
Oh yeah.
And I felt like with the first movie, there was kind of a clever way they would edit these most times, where they would kind of fade away with doors or they fade away with the environment. This one, they just kind of drop in every so often. It doesn't quite have that same style with the subtitle drop-ins, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I would say it's a little bit of, I don't know if it's an evolution, but you do still have sort of a stylistic effect, but maybe not done as creatively in the first film. So I definitely see what you're saying there. I will say, if we're talking about just overall shots and cinematography, there are actually several good shots in this, including, I don't know if you guys caught on the track. They have a very nice tracking shot in this movie.
They have some very nice tracking shots.
So something, I think as far as that goes, definitely nice improvements, I think, from the first film.
If nothing else, this movie definitely has a budget thrown at it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, you want to move on to themes?
Yeah, sure. This movie has very basic themes. Very, very basic. Things like family is good, believe in yourself, etc. The themes aren't much to write home about, if you ask me.
No, they're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, still, again, similar to the first film, trying to find a place, trying to kind of get to that sense of normalcy in a crazy world. I think those are things that are hit up,
I think if there's one thing I'm worried about the themes, it's that in the first movie there's a lot of this sense of like you're stuck together, so you have to choose. But in this movie there's a lot of people, so you clearly have choices. And it kind of tears apart some of the we're stuck together stuff when you see like a crowd of like 50 other guys.
Oh, those communes, yeah.
But we will get into that later. Let's go ahead and just go into our kind of spoiler-free recommendation. Do we or do we not recommend seeing this in theaters? Yeah. And Brennan, start with you.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. It didn't have quite the same energy of the first movie. But it definitely bedazzled the rest of the audience members when I went to go see it. And I laughed at some of the moments as well, but just not as hard as I did in the first. So, if you're a fan of the original movie and you want to go see this, fine. Go ahead. But, otherwise I would say wait till the Netflix release or what have you.
Yeah, essentially same opinion. If you like the first movie, this is what you get. You get more of the same, I think, for the most part. And, again, if you like the original movie, go see this one. You're gonna get the same essential experience. It's not a great movie. It's not a serious movie. It's not something to really think too deeply into. So I think, if you like the first movie, go check it out.
This is one where I have a surprisingly strong opinion on this movie. With the first movie, I kind of found it as kind of a refreshing take on the zombie genre in some ways, because it had this interesting editing, it had this kind of cartoony feel to it, and it had this kind of sense of humor that wasn't really there in most of the zombie movies at the time.
Right.
But as it's kind of become normalized and this has become a more standard movie, this felt like a movie that would be shown in Idiocracy, with how dumb some of the jokes were and how over the top the pop culture references were. I really found myself hating this movie while I was watching it. I thoroughly do not recommend it.
Interesting. Well, that's something that I want to definitely dig into in the Ramble On. So, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's head on over to the Ramble On.